Corinne, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to session 4 of the Sea Services Leadership Association Joint Women's Leadership Virtual Series. As always, we love to thank our sponsors for their great support in this series. We'd like to thank Johnson & Johnson, USAA, and Amazon. So if you're joining us this evening on our Zoom platform, please submit your questions in the Q&A box, and also please keep the discussion flowing in the chat box. We are monitoring that as we go, and we will be asking your questions later on in the session. For those of you joining us on Facebook Live tonight, please type your questions in the chat box. We are monitoring that live, and we'll be asking your questions during the Zoom session as well. Our disclaimer for this evening is that the views and opinions expressed in this webinar are not endorsed by and do not represent the views of the Sea Services Leadership Association, the Department of Defense, the Department of Homeland Security, or any other federal entities. So good evening, everyone. My name is Lieutenant Corinne Powers with the United States Coast Guard. I am the Sea Services Leadership Association Vice President, as well as the Ssla Virtual Series Co-Chair for this year. So grateful to have the opportunity to moderate tonight's session. For those of you who have taken a chance to read the bios and see the women who are going to be speaking tonight, it's a very exciting opportunity. So very, very excited to talk a little bit about the leadership that these women have provided in their individual communities, as well as the collective across the military community. And not only that, in breaking the glass ceiling, serving as incredible female first and setting the example for all of us. So the ladies that we will be discussing this evening are Rear Admiral Melissa Burt of the United States Coast Guard, who served as the Coast Guard's first female Judge Advocate General and Chief Counsel. Master Chief Cindy Hu-Ray-Tak of the United States Navy, who served as the Navy's first female Reactor Department Master Chief. Dr. Evelyn Hollis of the United States Army, who served as the Army's first female Command Sergeant Major of a Combat Arms Unit. Lieutenant Colonel Michelle Mccander of the United States Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps' first female to serve a Marine Ground Combat Arms Unit. And General Lori Robinson, retired, of the United States Air Force, who was the first female to serve as a combatant commander in the Air Force. So obviously an incredible group of women, and we're very excited to introduce them to you this evening. So first, what we are going to ask each of these ladies to do is introduce themselves with a 3-minute intro discussing who they are, a brief career background, and why they believe it's important to have firsts and celebrate the first within the military community. So first, I'd like to introduce Rear Admiral Melissa Burt of the U.S. Coast Guard.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, particularly with these amazing leaders. I'm very humbled by this. And it's also wonderful to be part of this symposium because this played a big role in empowering me. So, and I can tell you a little bit more about that later if it comes up. But thank you for your service, Corinne, in making this happen. My career is based on happenstance, I guess you'd say. My father was a Coast Guard seaman in World War II, and he basically served at the very end of the war. He's 93 years old now, and then he went on using the GI Bill, and he went on to do some other things in his life, he thought the Coast Guard would be a really neat place for a woman to go, because back in when I was going to school, the academies were not accepting women until a few years earlier, so it was kind of a novel thing. He thought that would be great. You know, how much fun would that be to be one of a few? And as it turns out, it was a mixed bag in that regard. But over the years, I've had the chance to. I had 2 tours at sea. I've worked in officer personnel, which was a lot of fun. I've had command of an operations base in Alaska. I've had the opportunity to serve in the ports of LA Long Beach during 9/11. I've really just had so many great experiences and an opportunity to meet the most amazing people who've shaped me over the years. So I would say that that probably encapsulates things. I do want to say a little bit. I did everything backwards. My family, I have a husband, a wonderful husband, and a daughter, but I didn't do that until I was a captain in the in the Coast Guard, which is crazy. So I adopted a baby girl and got married all in the same year, and we're very happy. She's 4.5 now, but it was definitely not the order that most people operate in. But I had waited so long to have a family that it was really just a blessing. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Admiral Burt. Okay, on to next to Master Chief Cindy Huratak with the U.S. Navy.
Hi, and thank you for having me. It really is such an honor, and I echo Admiral's comments about how it's so awesome to be here, surrounded by so many of the firsts that we've ever had. A little bit about myself: I enlisted out of Calexico, California, when I was 18 years old. Calexico is a border town about 90 minutes east of San Diego, pretty much in the desert valley. I have 5 siblings. There's two sisters and 3 brothers. 2 of my brothers actually joined the Marines. I don't fault them for that though, just because they didn't choose the Navy. So to each their own. I decided to join the Navy because I knew that the desert town that I was in, there wasn't a lot for me there. Going back nowadays, you see it's pretty run down, and I knew that I was gonna have to challenge myself to get the most out of life. And the words that really stuck with me and motivated me were from my coach, my high school softball coach. He was the one that told me that with hard work, anything is possible. And really that stuck with me. So I went and I saw the recruiter and talked to him, and I asked for the hardest job available. He mentioned that SEALs were pretty tough, but that wasn't open to me. So I said, okay, well, what's the next thing that I could shoot for? And he talked to me about the nuclear field. And that's where he mentioned if I liked math, if I was good at it, and math was my favorite subject. So that was the start of my career. I've served on many ships, so some of the pre-com duties I've really enjoyed, because you pretty much get to build the ship, and that's one of those experiences that stays with you for a lifetime. Building the ship and then taking her out and getting to see her actually in the water, answering bells. That's one of those awesome experiences that you never live down. So I served on USS Nimitz. That was my first ship, and I actually met my husband while we were stationed there. He got out of the Navy after 8 years, and we've been married for 20 years now. I do have 1 child, my son Zachary, who is now 20 years old. So time flies, and it's been great being able to share all of my sea stories with him, explaining to him based on how old he was, what I was doing in the Navy. That's been a very big motivational, and has made those deployments go by a lot faster. After USS Nimitz, I also served on pre-commissioning tours on Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. USS Enterprise, I had an awesome tour there where I think that really helped me develop my mechanical ability, because things were always breaking. So that really helped me out. After that, I also served on USS George H.W. Bush and USS Harry S. Truman, and my shore tours include instructor duty at Goose Creek, South Carolina, Naval Nuclear Power Training Command, and then at Submarine Learning Facility. I reported back to George H.W. Bush October of 2018 as the Reactor Department Master Chief, and it's just been an awesome tour, because the first time I was here, I made Chief and I got to build the ship. Now I took her out for a couple underways. We're in an availability. We're taking the ship apart, putting it back together, and it's like you get to see it full circle. So the next thing you know, we'll be finishing up our availability either on time or early, and then taking her back out to sea. And I'm really looking forward to that. Now, one of the things that I think about how important it is for firsts, the words exception and the words waiver exist for a reason. So I'd like to think, you know what, I might as well use that, and anything is possible. It goes back to those young years with my coach, when he said, you know what, with hard work, anything is possible, and your future is really what you make of it. So exceptions and waivers, they're not just space savers in a dictionary. Let's use those words and let's get the most out of life. And that's why I think firsts are very important. to show the people that are coming up behind us that you don't have to be a hero or a superstar. You just have to work hard and you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Chief. Now on to Dr. Evelyn Hollis of the U.S. Army.
Okay. Good evening, and thank you so very much for allowing me to be a part of this awesome opportunity to just kind of lay out some of my perspectives and being one of those female first. And I really feel honored to be with the other panels members who have done some fantastic things and experienced a lot and really, leveled the playing field for all women. So I entered the U.S. Army on September 16, 1979. Wow, what a long time ago. Well, let me tell you how this went down. My mother and I would always go window shopping in my small hometown of Ohio. And all the shops on that particular, in that city was all on Main Street. And it also included the recruiting station. So we would always walk and, just window shop, look at different things. And she always would kind of glance over to that recruiting station but she never really talked about it. And then one time we passed by and she says, hey, I always wanted to be in the Army. And I was like, oh no. Well, goes to show I enlisted that day. So that's how I came to be. So I graduated from basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Then I went to advanced individual training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And I entered the Army as a 71 Lima, which is an administrative specialist. And although my career started in the administrative field, a lot of different opportunities were beginning to open up. And I chose what I refer to as the road less followed. So I began a career with combat arms, air defense, artillery. So I rose from private to command sergeant major. I served in various NCO leadership positions such as platoon sergeant, first sergeant, operations sergeant major, command sergeant major. My military education included courses like the primary leadership development course, basic and advanced non-commissioned officer course, battle staff course, first sergeant course, the U.S. Army Recruiting School, and the United States Army Sergeant's Major Academy, Class 51. Some awards that I earned during my time of service was the Legion of Merit and Bronze Star Medal, among many others. I retired in 2007. I completed the Troops to Teachers program and taught for 2 school districts here in El Paso, the Socorro Independent School District, as well as the El Paso Independent School District. Currently, I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Command Leadership at the Sergeant's Major Academy, and I'm also adjunct faculty at Park University. I'm really proud of the fact that I was able to earn my doctorate in 2017 and have authored a chapter in anthology, as well as a couple of articles for the non-commissioned officers in the Army. So why do I think it's important to have first? And what does it mean to be a first? I think it's important to acknowledge first, because many have fought so that women like myself, like all the other members of this panel, to be treated equally and contribute equally to American society. So, I mean, I just was thinking, like last week on August 26th, that marked the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage movement and just achieving full voting rights. So we're chipping away at those inequalities. So it's awesome to know that we can be part of the solution to ensuring that we can equally contribute. What it means to me to be a first? Oh man, when I was promoted to command sergeant major, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard. It means doing the hard work though. It means being persistent, but it also meant for me that I can now maybe empower others and help them be the best that they can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hollis. All right, now on to Lieutenant Colonel Mccander with the United States Marine Corps.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the invitation. I think this is a great forum for women in the military, and I'm honored to be on this virtual stage with so many accomplished women. I'm going to provide a little background on myself, and then I very much look forward to answering some questions from everyone out there. So my military story begins in college. So I stopped by the Marine Officer Instructor's office at Georgia Tech at the end of my freshman year. And I have absolutely no recollection of the conversation with Captain Potter. And I honestly remember only going there for information gathering. But within about a week, I was in Navy khakis and Marine Eagle Globe anchors. And I was standing in a uniform inspection, and I never looked back. After graduation, I went through the 6 months of the basic school that all Marine officers do. And for non-Marines out there, if you aren't a pilot or a lawyer with a contract coming in, you don't know what your occupational specialty will be until about the 4-month mark of the 6 months of TBS. So I started off wanting to be a signals intelligence officer, but then we had the demolitions portion of the curriculum. And once I had C4 in my hands, there was just no going back for me. So Combat Engineers was the job for me, and I was ecstatic that I got my first choice. And Combat Engineers was an interesting MOS because it, at the time, was the only combat arm that females could get in 2000 when I was commissioned. But it had only been open to women for about 5 years, and due to restrictions on women in service, that meant that I couldn't serve in many of the billets that my male counterparts could. So in the Marines, that meant that I could serve in the air wing or logistics combat element, but I was banned from serving in a combat engineer battalion within a Marine division. So I grew up in the Marines and served everywhere I was allowed to, including 4 combat deployments, but it always annoyed me that I was excluded from combat engineer battalions. What I saw as a unit that worked closely with infantry and Marines, and honestly, they blew a lot of demolitions, which of course interested me. But then in 2016, that changed, and I have to say my timing was impeccable. There are only 2 active duty combat engineer battalions in all of the Marine Corps, and they both happened to be on the command screening list at the same time. In 2017, the first time that women could compete to command them, and the first time I was eligible to compete for command. I knew it would be tough, but I wanted the challenge, and so I put 1st Combat Engineer Battalion as my top choice. I was lucky enough to be selected by a panel of officers to command it, and in 2018, served as the first female to command a ground combat unit. And I say lucky, not because I'm being modest, but because I see luck in the same way that the Roman philosopher Seneca did. Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. So I prepared my whole career for it. And once I was selected, I regularly strapped on a pack and hiked to the hills of Camp Pendleton to make sure I was fully prepared for the physical aspects of the job. I was lucky in timing since I could look at my mentors who were senior to me and would have crushed command and division, but they just got there a little too early. And that also helped that my MOS was open 15 years before the other ones that opened up in 2016. So that means the infantry Marines, artillery Marines, and tracker females that are coming behind me, it's gonna take a while. They're captains now, it's gonna take some time for them to grow and be able to serve in division. But now they can see that it can be done. So I'm so excited that there's no more obstacles for them and that I was a part of the ability to break barriers to make it easier for them. And I know Dr. Hollis just talked about 100 years for women's suffrage. It's also been 100 years of Marines serving in the military. So that's 100 years of me standing on the shoulders of giants to make me successful. And it's awesome that I get to be a part of it. And with that, I'll turn over to Corinne.
And last but certainly not least, General Lori Robinson of the United States Air Force.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Corinne and team, thank you so much for putting all this together. It's no simple feat in these times. I can't even begin to tell you how honored and humbled I am to be on this panel with everybody else. It's been fun to listen to everybody. about the things that they've done, and more importantly, the things that they're going to do. Like everybody else, I started in the Air Force. My dad was in the Air Force for 30 years. I was the oldest of 5, and my father wanted me to go to the Air Force Academy. And at that time I was 18, and I said, no way, Dad, I've been in the Air Force for 18 years and I'm not going into the Air Force. Then I got to college and decided to join Air Force ROTC because I couldn't figure out what else I wanted to do, and figured I would retire at 4 years or finish at 4 years. And after 37 years of supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States, I think it was about time for me to retire. I had the privilege of being and doing things that were different. I wasn't in a combat field that early on because they didn't allow it at the time, but I got to work early on with fighter pilots and be a part of that team. I flew on AWACS and Joint Stars and was able to go through early on. But as I progressed in my career field, and as I progressed throughout my career, I was able to serve in all different levels of command. And I can't tell you what an honor it was to do that. Having had the privilege, these 3 pictures, the one on the far right and the lower one is when I took over out at Colorado Springs with my 2 bosses out in Colorado Springs, and the one on the left is when I became the commander at Pacific Air Forces. To culminate my career and to have these opportunities, especially in Colorado Springs, to be the first female combatant commander in the Department of Defense across the entire department was truly an honor that I had earned the trust and confidence of both the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of Canada. Why do I think it's important to have first? You know, I would always tell people, you know, I was a general, I was a commander, I'm an airman, and I just happened to be a woman. That was very important to me. I didn't want to get picked for something because I was a woman. I wanted to get selected because I was capable, competent, and had potential. But more importantly, why it's important to me is now you in the audience can look at all of us and you can say, I can be that person. I can go there and be that person. And that way, you know, all of us have provided you a role model, and it's not who's that I can be, it's look, I can be them. So thanks a lot for everybody for attending, and I look forward to everyone's questions.
Thank you, ladies, for those awesome introductions and a little background on all of you. So I have a couple of questions. I'm going to ask an individual question to each of you, and then we're going to open up to Q&A to our attendees this evening. So I'm going to go in the same order that we did with your introductions. So Admiral Burt, I'm going to start with you. One of your most significant accomplishments in the Coast Guard is serving as the founder of the Coast Guard Women's Leadership Initiative, a Coast Guard affinity group. What was your intention in its establishment, and how do you think it has affected mentorship and development in the Coast Guard?
So just listening to everybody gave me pause. Everybody has such a different perspective, although we're all women, and that's something that that's the way it is. I've been one of those people who never felt like I totally fit in, and I spent probably most of my career trying to fit in, and it didn't occur to me to stop looking at myself and thinking about how other people might feel if I felt that way, until a conversation I had with some folks, maybe, I don't know, it's been about 10 years, I guess, 10 years ago. I was serving on the Coast Guard Academy Alumni Association Board of Directors, which was really a lot of fun because, you know, I went to the Academy and I have a lot of girlfriends from there. And the question came up, why aren't women alumni that active? And what can we do to bring in more interest and money, basically, from our women who went to the Coast Guard Academy, because the Coast Guard is heavily, the officer corps is heavily Academy graduates, and people, and the retention level for officers is 60%, which is kind of crazy. So we have a very tight knit group, and women were going to the Academy at that point we're almost a third of the academy. When I went, it was 10%. So big changes. And then I went back to talk. We were trying to figure this out, and we said, women just don't feel as connected. Women are not thinking that they are, they're always, very grateful and humble that they serve, but I don't hear a lot of women saying, I want to lead the Coast Guard, or I want to lead in whatever I do. And I got the feeling that that's a affliction that a lot of women are facing in the services, that they see themselves as servants, servant leaders, or whatever it is, but they don't see themselves as, I have great ideas, I can make this organization better. I like women to think big. And so I asked my friends from WISTA, which is Women in International Shipping and Trade, if they could partner with us, because I had met so many powerful women through there. There were, people who are running law firms, running businesses in the maritime, just really impressive women. And we started partnering, doing some events. And I asked some of my mentors, including Thad Allen, I said, hey, what if we do something that's just about women, and it's about connecting women with other great women so that they're inspired to do more and feel more empowered to change things that don't work for them. And he said, I'm in. Let me know what I can do to help, which is such an amazing thing. And a lot of other people did the same thing. And initially we were doing a lot of fundraising, which I don't really like to do. But what happened as a result of that was women from all over the Coast Guard were coming out and saying, I want to be a part of this. I want to meet other women. I want to have a good network. Like the men have a great network. I want to have a women's network too. And then men started coming to the events too, which I find interesting. I guess they wanted to find out what was the secret sauce there. But it's so important to me. I mean, I feel like women need to get their voice. And unfortunately, a lot of women keep their mouths shut their entire careers. And if the services are going to be in a way that that works for women the way it works for men, and has since Leave It to Beaver, we have to think about how we want to shape things. And you can't wait till you're an admiral or a general. You need to be involved. So I love when I have people come to me and say, hey, why don't we do this? Or how can we do this? And the Women's Leadership Initiative, you guys have come up with some amazing ideas. We've adopted, the Coast Guard has adopted a lot of them. And so when I look, when I think about what my legacy is, or what the Coast Guard, where the Coast Guard needs to be, I want not just women, but I want people to shape the organization in a way that makes it great for everybody, not just for a small percentage of people. So whatever that expression people use, rising tide lifts all ships. I think when everybody feels that it's their organization and they're a part of it and they're a vital part of it, I think we all do better, and the organization is better for it. So I do congratulate a lot of women who are your peers and who've come up with just some really great ideas. So many of the things that we're doing are because somebody said, you know what, this would be a good thing to do, whether it's parental leave, whether it's sabbaticals, whether it's changing our weight program, which was not making any sense. There are a lot of things that you can't have men deciding for you. And so now I'm very fortunate to be in the legal program, which to be able to lead that is a huge honor. But it also, it opens my eyes to things. When I sit with the other TJAGs, who are all men, their perspective on military justice, on personnel matters, all of these things, it's just not the same. And I think there are women who probably would also say that they agree more with them than me, but I think having different voices in making policies is only beneficial. And so I would encourage women to not wait till you're an old woman like me. Speak your mind when you're younger. Nobody's going to hold it against you. And I say that because of my SSLA experience, where I talked to our then commandant about concerns I had, and he was very welcoming to that. So So thank you, and that's about all I have now, unless anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Admiral Burt. And I will say, as a member of WLI and having the opportunity as part of the leadership of SSLA to partner with WLI in the past, it's a phenomenal organization, and thank you for the work that you've done. So Master Chief, on to you. So one of the things that we advocate for in SSLA is developing your personal and professional network and identifying personal mentors and sponsors. In your personal journey, who were your mentors and sponsors, and how did they help pave the way for your career? And what role did they play in your personal achievements?
Wow. Well, I can say that everyone I have served with in some capacity has been a mentor or a sponsor. We've got to look at it as, in the military, all of us join for a specific reason. And the commonality that we have is that we're serving for the betterment of to serve our country. That is our ultimate goal in mind. So we're all from diverse backgrounds, and just learning from everyone as much as you can is what I have really focused on. Now, joining the Navy and only having a few, like not even having a lot of females around, it was hard for me to figure out, hey, who can I go to count on to offer mentorship. So it took me a few years to be able to reach out and start asking or soliciting for if people would be my mentor or my sponsor. Because like I said, I was a young female in a male-dominated community. It was a little awkward for me to be reaching out. At least I didn't feel comfortable. So like I said, it took me some time, but during that time, I did watch and learn from a lot of leaders. And then like I said, you've got to learn from everyone because we're all so diverse and we all have such different perspectives and different ways to tackle the same problem, but we all have the same goal in mind, and that's betterment of the team. So the importance of networking, once we realize that it's not about us as individuals, that it's about the team and it's about accomplishing the goal together, I think that's when we realize that, hey, you know what? People are subject matter experts in their fields, and it's okay to reach out to someone. I am completely okay saying, hey, you know what? I don't know the answer to this, or I don't know what this means, and reaching out to a subject matter expert for some advice. Like, I have no shame if I have a question, I'm going to ask the question, because it's not about me anymore. It's about the betterment of the team. So the networking and the sponsorship, the mentors. As I grew in the Navy, I was able to eventually start confiding in more people. And to this day, I still confide in retired Master Chiefs or retired chiefs that I've served with, because I've realized that it's not about just me and the way I look at things. There's a lot of people out there that have probably faced the same problem or dilemma that I'm going through. And the more experiences or the more opinions and scenarios that I have, the better I'm going to be equipped with solving that problem, and the better I'm going to be equipped with providing a solution that gets us to the mission accomplishment, the best way and the most exceptional way to get there. So mentorship, sponsors, like I said, I've had a lot of them, and I still keep in touch. That's one of the benefits of social media, is still being able to talk to people. My first chief, I still talk to him. I think I just chatted with him maybe about a week ago, and he was my first chief back in 1999. So that was 20 years ago, and we still keep in touch. Master chiefs that I've served with as well, and just everyone that has provided me with an opportunity to challenge myself. I appreciate them, because they're the ones that helped me pretty much become who I've become. It's all because of the people and the motivation. And I like to say that I am lucky, because I have been surrounded by the hardest working people my entire career. And every command that I get to, I always have like an exceptional team that is always working together to have that mission accomplishment and just pretty much excel with a team mindset vice just an individual. So that's why I think networking is so important, because like I said, we all have different backgrounds, we all have different perspectives, and we have the one common goal, which is mission accomplishment. And the more minds together, the more experiences we can share, the better the solution and the better the outcome.
Great answer, Master Chief. Thank you so much for that. All right, Dr. Hollis, you're up. So, what was the most surprising or unanticipated experience about being the first in your respective position?
Wow, what a great question. So I've been thinking about that. I think I had throughout my career a lot of unanticipated times. For instance, like when I first joined the Army, the unit I was in my basic training unit, it was the test bed for co-ed basic training. So there were 3 platoons of guys and 1 platoon of females. And I don't know, I think that just set the stage for everything happening that I'd go through the next level of training as a non-commissioned officer. I'm the only female in a unit of 30 people. We're all in training and I'm the only female. Ah, boy. I'd always say to myself, what have I gotten myself into by changing my MOS to Air Defense Artillery? And it would happen that I would be the lone female. So it never crossed my mind that I would be the lone female. So that was truly unexpected. And I really felt at the time that I wish, that I had some peers to count on and or someone else to look up to at the time. But I just went ahead, held my head up and said, I'm going to accomplish what I set out to accomplish. If my goal was to complete this, then I am going to complete this. To the point when I did get promoted to the Command Sergeant Major position to be that senior advisor for that combat arms unit, that it didn't really dawn on me that I was the first. I was just excited that I got the opportunity to do my job, take care of soldiers and help them actually be the leaders, the subordinates, the soldiers that they needed to be in order to accomplish our mission. So when somebody mentioned to me like a few days later, like, wow, you're the first. And I said, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. And so it hadn't really dawned on me. I was really focused on just trying to be the best sergeant I could be, the best staff sergeant I could be, the best leader I could be, without even realizing that I was the first, except for when I was in training and be like, oh man, I'm the only female in this training. And what am I gonna do? We're out in the field and I'm the only female. So I think that throughout my career, as I kept thinking back, I was like, man, I don't know. Maybe that co-ed basic training just set me up to know that I was gonna be like in a situation where I would have to be that lone female. And thank goodness that I just kind of looked at doctrine. I looked at NCO responsibilities. I called my mom a lot and said, this is the first time I'm the only one here. What am I gonna do? And she really said, if you believe, because I believe in you, then I think, and you believe in yourself, then I believe you can get through that. You can get through any experience. You believe, I believe, and you can do it. So I definitely had a lot of unanticipated experiences by being the first in air defense. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hollis. All right, Lieutenant Colonel Mccander, what do you believe were the critical stepping stones or accomplishments, examples being education, training, reading leadership books, etc., that have led you to where you are today? What did you need to do in order to achieve the accomplishments that you have today?
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I think if you kind of look at the bios of all the ladies that are represented here, one of the things that you will see is education plays a big part in our careers. And I think I have been very fortunate that about half of my time has been operational and the other half has been spent in an educational environment, either as an instructor or as a student. And right now I'm at the Naval War College. And part of it is it gets to focus on your profession, right? And then the other part is it also introduces you to other people. And it's a lot of peer learning, and you just get to meet other students that have vastly different experiences than you. And I think you understand your organization or the DoD a whole lot better by having served there. And like I said, I'm very fortunate that I got to be an instructor for 3 years, teaching captains who ask a lot of really tough questions. And in my opinion, that meant I got to be a student for 3 years because I had some very intelligent captains that just challenged me every single day. But that is not the career path that you have to have. And that's one of the beautiful things is you can try to manage your career and say, you know, I need to have, for me, I need to have platoon command and then company commands. I need to serve as an operations officer or an executive officer. These are the stepping stones to make me successful. And you can have a plan for it. And then the monitor or the detailer will, at the end of the day, have the last word on all of that. And so they're going to throw a nice wrench in that. So part of that is you have to be flexible and understand that really at the end of the day, it's performance that matters. And, you know, the big advice, work hard every single day. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and take care of your Marines or sailors or soldiers or airmen. That is really what matters is performance. And so what one of my mentors told me was bloom where you're planted. We've all heard that, but there's a caveat that was in there that was don't plant yourself on a sidewalk. So make sure that the jobs that you're doing are going to set you up with always a mind on if you're planning on staying in with a mind on how that's going to serve you. And to me, it's if you think you're going to stay in, make sure you're setting yourself up. If you think you're going to get out, make sure you're setting yourself up to be successful if you change your mind. Because in my opinion, I've been getting out since I got in, and you string enough of those together and you have a full career. And then something that Admiral Burt talked about was don't stay quiet. So be aggressive. It's okay. I look back at, they were called peer evaluations at the basic school. And you had a squad of 12, all second lieutenants that were working alongside of you, and they kind of used like 2 words to describe you. And I think I had 4 abrasives. And that really hurt my feelings back at TBS. And I'm kind of proud of it now, because what that means to me is I wasn't willing to let my voice not be heard. So they say abrasive, I say that I was letting my voice be heard. And I think that is something that has served me well. And don't ever apologize, and don't ever listen to that voice in the back of your mind that says that you don't deserve to be there, because you do, and they're lying. So don't ever let them get in your head. Thank you.
Great advice. All right, General Robinson, you're up. What is one piece of tactical advice or a lesson that you learned that you would be willing to share with our audience if they are experiencing a first or just wanting to be at their absolute best in their careers?
That's an incredible question. Thinking about it, the first thing, and everybody's kind of said this in what they've talked about, and I learned this lesson very, very early on. I didn't know what it meant when I first got told it, but I finally figured it out, and that's that you're a part of something bigger than yourself. That it's not about you, that it is about the team, or it's about the institution. The more that you make the people around you better, the better the institution is, and that it's not about you, or the better that the team does, or the better answer that you give to your boss. So you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And in that, you need to have, understand that everything you do is your reputation, everything you do is your credibility, and everything you do, you should show humility. Those 3 things I think are so important, because those 3 things will follow you no matter where you go. I can't tell you how many times I went someplace and people, you can ask Admiral Burt, we had the privilege to work together, and I'm sure there was rumor mills, galore in Colorado Springs before I got there. And your reputation, your credibility, and your humility will follow you everywhere. So tactically, you're part of something bigger than yourself. Those things are you, and they're going to follow you or precede wherever you go. But because of that, believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Believe when you walk into a room and you're the only woman in there, that you know what you're doing. Somebody said, you deserve to be there. And hold your head high, put your shoulders back, and walk in with a purpose and with a meaning, and know that you deserve it. Believe in yourself. Trust your gut instinct. You know, our guts get better over time when we experience more and more things. And, you know I have come across situations where maybe I've been told one thing, but my gut told me to do something else. Trust your gut, because that's going to help you believe in yourself even more, and it's going to help with your reputation, your credibility, and your humility. And finally, in all of this, find somebody to talk to. We all are anal type A overachiever control freaks, you know, we think we can handle everything. And I can tell you, whether, you know, it's a spouse, whether it's a friend, you know, whatever, find somebody to talk to, or a mentor, whomever, because then you can reinforce all the things that you've been doing. So again, it's wonderful to be here. Thanks, Corinne.
Thank you, ma'am. Really appreciate that. Okay, so we're going to turn it over to the audience. We've got some really great questions. So I hope you ladies ate your Wheaties this morning, as I've been reading these in the chat. So we're going to just leave it open forum. Who would ever like to answer? We do have a couple specific ones. There's a few for Master Chief, but we're going to open this one first to the entire panel. It says, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here tonight and your time and experiences. A question for all of you. Do you feel that using the language of firsts can hinder progress, i.e. being the first female, first Black female, first Filipina, etc.? You all have expressed that representation matters, but how do we communicate how this benefits not just us as female sailors, airmen, soldiers, Marines, but also how it benefits our male counterparts?
So I'll jump in. So the first thing I would say, it benefits, and I'm going to go what Master Chief said, it benefits the team. If you believe in that you are part of something bigger than yourself, your contribution to any conversation, any dialogue, anything sitting around a table, you know, it's going to benefit everybody. And the other part to that is, you know, I don't believe that saying first is bad. Bad wasn't the correct word, but is a concern. Because somebody needs to say, I can be that person. And unless we highlight that person, then we don't know. But I think it benefits everybody because we can all learn from each other. And I think that helps whatever task or anything we're going afterwards. So I'll just stop at that.
Would anyone else like to contribute to that question?
I'd just like to add that I do think every now and then you do have to be reminded that you are a first, because it wasn't easy getting there. And it just goes to show you that you can start from the bottom and you can work your way up. So every now and then we do need to remind ourselves that, hey, you know what? I did work my butt off, and this was a lot of hard work, and it is possible. So every now and then you need that little mode of encouragement. That kind of helps you. Whenever I'm questioning myself, or I'm thinking like, was that really the right choice that I made? I just recall, you know what? I'm here for a reason. Let me not forget that.
Awesome. I actually have
I'll jump in. Oh,
go ahead, please.
I would just say it is a really good question. And I do look forward to the day where it isn't news when women are in these command positions, or, you know, that it is such a matter of course that we don't even have to talk about it. I just don't think we're there yet. And so it does provide those that are coming up with something to aspire to. And I think it's important for them to see that. That was something that I think a lot of us growing up just didn't have that opportunity. We didn't have someone to look forward to, and so we kind of had to pave the way ourselves. But I think it is important for those following behind us. But someday, there won't be any more first. It'll just be a matter of course, and I really look forward to that day.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to piggyback on this question as well, because I am a believer that you do still have to talk about these first, because not only is our society changing, but so is the Department of Defense. We are so inclusive of everyone. So I think as we try to continue to build that diversity and inclusiveness of all people in the force in our society, that yeah, you're just like laying that foundation so more people can be inclusive, so more people can see that they do have a spot or voice, and helping shape our defense, our society, whatever it may be. Thanks.
So I actually have a follow-on question to this. So I want to give a shout out to Hillary Payton on Facebook. So her question to you, to feed off of this, is those women before us have definitely paved the way for us through mental strength and example. What advice do you have for women that may feel they must do more to accomplish the mission, or for those that may feel as if there is a heavier weight on our backs as women to set the example or be the first?
I will answer. I will try and do my best to answer that. I think that there maybe is a little bit more of a burden for females that are serving, and they're, you know, particularly in the Marine Corps, we are the service with the smallest representation of Marines in all of the services. And so I think that, you know, your successes and your struggles are looked at as representation of Marines, so as females. So I think there is an additional burden, but I don't think that's something to be scared of. That is, like, to me, that challenges me every single day when I know that my Marines are watching me, that I know that I can't afford a misstep, right? That is going to make me perform at my best every single day. And I think that that struggle has actually made me a much better officer.
I have another perspective on this, which is a little bit irreverent probably for this group, but you don't have to be phenomenal at everything you do every day of your career. And I see a lot of women leave the service. We have a very high, our rate of women leaving is like 3 times that of men after they've served their original time. And what I see are women who are so tough on themselves, and we've got to, not do that. I see women who are, having children and other things, and they think, oh, people hate me because I'm pregnant, or people are, they're just so worried. And you know what? There are times in your life when your family is going to draw on you. There are times in your life when your subordinates are going to draw on you, or people around you. You just never know what it is, but you don't have to be amazing all the time for everyone. You can slog through sometimes in your career, but please don't walk away just because you think you're not the best in that given time of your life.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so this question is actually for Master Chief specifically, but I think all of you can probably contribute to it because you've all come up in male-dominated communities. As someone who leads in a Navy rating that is predominantly male and very challenging for work-life balance, what kind of mentorship or guidance would you provide women who want to pursue a career as a Navy nuke and or fill in the blank of any male-dominated career path?
I'm going to start off with, you've got to enjoy what you do. So the nuclear field, I love it. It is the best job in the world. Like I have lucked out in being a nuke. The stuff that I get to do on a daily basis, it just keeps getting better every day. But I would say that a male-dominated field, I don't really think of it as a male-dominated field. I just think of it as, hey, you know what? All of us, we have the same likes. We all dig nuclear power. We all dig fission. All kinds of machinery that we get to operate. So I like to look at it as, I try not to hang up or get too hung up on the fact that there's men everywhere. I just look at it as, you know what? We all have these common interests. we all have our marching orders. We know what the goal is and that's what I'm gonna strive for. That's what I'm gonna try to accomplish. I enjoy what I do, and the advice that I could give you is there's gonna be times where it's challenging. You just gotta look at yourself and look at your neighbor, look at your shipmate, the sailors next to you, and remember that, hey, we all joined for a reason because we dig this stuff. So let's continue to enjoy what we do and make the most out of this time.
Okay. So we have actually a very interesting question. So obviously we know that our sister services in our international countries, sometimes are a little more progressive than we are. So this comes discussing from Norway. Norway incorporated female-only units, which is helping with a mission on the Middle East. It appears to make training more proficient and mission-oriented. Do you think female-only units would benefit the U.S. military or destroy females' chances on success within the military?
Okay, as one of the old ladies in the crowd. So if we go back to everything that we've been talking about, diversity and inclusion, to me, I would be interested, one, what mission are they doing in the Middle East? What mission is the female-only unit? What are they doing? But we've tried very, very hard to have this conversation of diversity and inclusion and having the different voices around the table, and not that 10 women, like Admiral Burt said at the beginning, we all kind of said a little bit of different stuff in our intros. Not that we can't have different, but you need everybody's voice sitting around the table. So I'm not going to say it's good or bad. I just think if we think about it long term, we should think about does it help with reaching conclusions, providing best military advice? Does it give us the diversity around a table? Is it inclusive in our thought process? I think that it would be interesting to talk to them about what they feel they have learned and gathered. But I also think that we have come so far, and I think that need to have different voices is very important around the table, especially as a commander.
I'd just like to add, we're the world's greatest Navy because of diversity. And if we were to separate ourselves and, hey, this is just a group of females, then we take away from the equation our responses to what maybe a male would have said, or how we maybe would have approached a problem if we were in that group of mixed people. So like I said, we're the world's greatest Navy, and our diversity has led us to be the world's greatest Navy. So I just don't like taking away from that diversity. And there would be some third order losses based on the fact that we were only maybe a group of females. Because like I said, sometimes we feed off of each other, and that's completely okay. That's gonna be what drives us to a better solution.
I want to just bring a perspective up that, it wasn't, maybe 30, 40 years ago that we ended the Women's Army Corps. If I remember right, the women in the Women's Army Corps were advocating for our inclusion into the total force, into the whole Department of Defense, into the Department of the Army. So separating all that work they did to have us be included, the Women's Army Corps, into the total Army force, would just go to waste if we went back to individual female units.
Great feedback, Dr. Hollis. Okay, so shifting towards solution-oriented decisions. What do the services need to do to better retain women and help the services become more diverse?
I could speak for like hours on this, but I think one of the first things is asking women what they want, and we did a RAND study in the Coast Guard, which is the first time someone actually asked women what would make a difference for them, and I think there are a variety of things. One of them is sort of managing your life. How are you going to manage your family, all of that? Can you come in and out of the service without it being a punishment? Are there different options you can choose depending on which career path you're choosing? We're having to do that anyway, not just for men or women. In the cyber community, we really need people to come in and out of the workforce. We don't want people who have only government experience. So we're trying to relook at this old formulation of active, reserves, and that's it. Those are your options. Or I guess in the other services, it's active, reserve, and guard. But there are other calculations. But I think it's important for women to be at the table to figure out, what works, because women tend to leave the service because they're not heard, and it's not because they have kids or whatever. Men have kids, but I see women feeling that their ideas are not taken into account. For the first time, we're talking about holding people accountable for harassment. Now, are you kidding me? I mean, that just seems like something that would be obvious, but a lot of when people do surveys, one of the things they mention is that they've been harassed or marginalized. There's a variety of things, and nothing is ever done about it. Well, there's a reason nothing's ever done about it. It's not, people have always sort of looked at it as like a EEO problem or something, a personality conflict. But the reality is, people are not, people leave the service when they are belittled or dehumanized. So that's something that we can start looking at. Like, why are we settling for this idea that sexual assault is always going to be prevalent in the services? It's crazy. Why do we think that it's okay to treat people poorly, and we take that less seriously than an alcohol incident or something like that? So I just think it's interesting, the values that we develop. It's part of our voice. So if we want to make things great for the future, we have to be part of that discussion. And if you have a place at the table, please use it, because I've noticed, and maybe the Coast Guard is just a little more open to that, but as much as people don't always love to hear what I have to say, I'm in all these meetings, and I'm not going to sit there and just let people talk over me. And I think one of the things that is very easy to do is when you have a different idea about how the service should be, you think, well, this is how it's done, and I feel really silly bringing something up. But the reason why things have been done this way is because they worked for other people. So I guess my feeling about all of this is I think all the services should be doing these surveys and should be asking people what they want for their future, because we can reshape things. We can change laws, we can change regulations, we can certainly change policy, not that hard. So I guess don't take it as a given that the way things are today are going to be the way they are in 20 years. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So on that thought, how do you stay motivated to continue your career path when you don't see anyone that looks like you in the higher ranks?
I can say that I know I stay motivated because I keep in mind the people that are coming up behind me. I always look at it as, you know what, my life is a fishbowl, and there's someone that might be in kindergarten right now that is going to need to see that this is possible. So I just think of it as big picture, and I say, you know what, it's not about me. It's about those that are coming up behind me that aren't even aware that this is what they're going to want. So I just focus on, hey, people coming up behind me are going to need to be able to travel through a road, and we might as well start laying that foundation now. And then, of course, the yearly leadership symposiums are very motivational as well.
I would just say that throughout my career, I followed a man every single time. I grew up in, just like everybody else on this panel, it was mostly men. What I learned from that is, while it's important to have somebody that looks like you, what's as important is having people that you respect, that have the morals and the values that you do too, so that you can take those and put them inside yourself. And for the people that are coming behind you, they can see that. So it's the understanding that while that person might not look like you, the things that they represent, what's important to you, take that on. And then the people that are behind you, then they will see that, not just that you look like them, but you act like them and you believe like them.
I just wanted to comment that that is so accurate. That is so true. And when I was like just kind of preparing and really feeling honored that I get to sit among such professional women, I asked one of a past student that had attended the Sergeant's Major Academy, and I asked her to tell me the story, because she said to me when I first met her that she was floored that she even realized that I had existed. Now, she was an air defense artillery soldier in her when she started her career. And at that time, when she was talking about that, I was probably like in a first sergeant position or something. So she told me that, so when she was in this organization, she's a paid air defense artillery soldier. It's the late 90s. And, you know, she really only had some female NCOs that were not necessarily in air defense artillery, but in some of the support MOSs, who she could actually kind of look towards and emulate. But her field was actually air defense artillery. So she said, man, she was shocked to see me. She didn't even know I was inside the field of air defense artillery. And that if she had have possibly known that, then maybe she wouldn't have gotten out of the military. She came back in later, but maybe her career would have continued versus her getting out and then coming back in. So she really said that it was, for her, a motivator just to have someone, to see someone in a higher position in order to maybe take the cues from that person and be able to emulate and have those same kinds of beliefs and ideas. So if that had have been, if she said, if she had met me or known about me a little bit sooner, maybe she would have stayed in air defense artillery and maybe not have gotten out of the field. And she was a graduate of Class 70, Sergeant Major Nakia Haywood, who told me this story when she came here to the Sergeant Major Academy to attend the course.
Awesome. All right, so we have been hit with a lot of questions, and in wanting to be respectful of your time this evening, ladies, we are going to finish with one more question, and then this question will be for all of you, so we would ask that you would each provide an answer. Would you each provide us what you would consider your greatest triumph within your career that you believe that you've achieved in the face of difficult challenges as a woman within your career?
I can start. I'm obviously very proud that I got to command, and that, you know, is in itself an accomplishment, but that's just the beginning of a 2-year part of your life that is filled with a whole lot of hard work. And so it wasn't just, you know, the moment that you get there, it isn't a team that you have built and ready to go. So I think the thing that I'm most proud of is building a team within there. And the way that I kind of look at commanders is you're kind of the maestro. You don't actually play an instrument, but your job is to get the most out of every single separate instrument and get them to play together as a team. So before I came in, about a month before I took command, the unit that I commanded failed an inspection pretty spectacularly. And then about a year later, we were re-inspected on the same things, and we had one of the best results in all of the division. And that wasn't me. That was, you know, kind of setting priorities and just making sure that we built a team. But I think that is my greatest accomplishment, is the team that I built in order to be successful.
I'm going to piggyback on what Michelle said. You know, having had the privilege to command at all levels and ending up as a combatant commander, representing and defending, quite frankly, the United States of America in my NORTHCOM hat and in my NORAD hat, defending Canada and the United States in the air domain, is probably the highest accomplishment. But just the privilege of command throughout my career, being able to take care of airmen and their families, and in my last job, take care of, you know, the soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, civilians and their families, was probably the highest privilege. And to be a part of that, it was just incredible. And I look back on it every day and am amazed that I was able to do that and be a part of something bigger than myself. So thanks.
Okay, I think I just want to continue that echo of being able to get to that point as a senior advisor to a commander, and being, it was awesome because I was able to, yes, help my organization fulfill its mission. I could help and empower soldiers, the organization, help everyone be who they needed to be so that we could accomplish the mission. And yeah, it was very exhilarating. It was of the highest order, and it was a privilege to be able to do that. And think back that I helped the Army do its mission through my organization being successful in its mission. So for me, that truly was a privilege. And I did, to this day, soldier for life, I can still say, even though I'm retired, that I still feel privileged that I even have the potential, the opportunity, the capacity to continue to give back to the organization, to the Army, to the military, to the Department of Defense overall. Thanks so much.
I'd like to say that the biggest victory or triumph I've seen is just getting a large group of people that joined the Navy, joined the nuclear field, didn't really know what the expectations were or what they were going to be doing, training them so that then they're able to light off reactors, propel the ship through the water, and then watching them grow and develop into the leaders that they are, and then eventually pinning anchors on some of my chiefs. That has been like the biggest victory, because here you started with a person that volunteered to join, didn't know what they were getting themselves into, just knew that, hey, I want to serve my country. And then being responsible for the training, for getting them through the training, and then being able to advance them and promote them and seeing them develop as leaders. That is always going to be the biggest victory and triumph that I'm very proud to be a part of. Oh, and we do operate nuclear reactors too.
I like the last part of your your comment, because some people, when you ask them why they're in the Coast Guard, they'll say, well, it's really important to me to serve our country, to clean up oil spills, to do law enforcement and get drugs off the ocean, to work with the Navy in the Middle East, all of these things. But I always think about the people, and for me, it's just always about the people. I think people first, and if you treat people well and you empower them, then everything else comes together. People want to do the mission, and they're excited about it. Yeah, so I've enjoyed every job, whether it's a legal job, prosecuting a case, or whether it's being out on the water, rescuing somebody. Any of those things, I think those are all amazing things. But I've been in because of the people, and it also, my uncle told me this the other day, and I was like, wow, I never thought of it this way. But my grandparents came here as immigrants with no money, came to Ellis Island, and just started anew, as many of our ancestors have done. My parents went to school, went to college, first ones obviously in the family, and they did that through GI Bill and just scholarships. And here I am, able to do all of these amazing things. I mean, I've had this unbelievable career, and it's just hard to believe that the military affords that sort of cultural change in all of our lives, that we can go from wherever we were to being a part of something so amazing. So I didn't think of it that way, but it is pretty wild to think that my grandparents had to basically come here and start over and learn English, and that was it. And then they were able to see their grandchildren prosper. So I guess that's very motivating, and I hope that it keeps the next generation coming back.
Well, thank you, ladies, for your time this evening. I hope that everybody who got to attend this is as inspired as I am, and I'm so grateful for your incredible answers to these questions. What a treat to get to speak to you tonight. Thank you so much. All right, focusing on next week. Please join us on Monday, September 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time, for Continuing Your Service, Professional Opportunities in the Healthcare and Life Sciences, presented by Johnson & Johnson, one of our dedicated sponsors. So they will be discussing how they support transitioning members into the Johnson & Johnson company, opportunities they provide veterans, educational opportunities, and such. So if you are interested, as you are looking to transition out of the services, please consider joining us for that particular seminar. So obviously, SSLA is near and dear to my heart. I've been a member for over 10 years, and we want you to consider, as you are continuing to join the seminar, to see how this might be influential in your life. So by joining SSLA, it gives you an opportunity to tell us what it is that you want us to do for you as an organization. We get to bring together our current service members, veterans, actually even our spouses community, and take that feedback and actually take it to our decision makers, policy influencers, and our thought leaders, both through the Joint Women's Leadership Symposium and some of the leadership conversations that are happening around our armed services right now. So we encourage you to be a member of that community and be part of the conversations that we are having all over the services right now. So as a member, you actually get a discounted registration to the Joint Women's Leadership Symposium each year. You have access to all of the other members that become SSLA members. And we do have some private opportunities for our memberships. We do run a specific members only book club. And as we continue to grow as an organization, we are looking for more opportunities to provide you as a member. So we are always looking for feedback as well. So as always, hit us up on social media. We are very active on it, and this seminar will be posted within the next 24 hours on it if you did not get to watch the entire thing or want to share it with your shipmates. So please hit us up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram. As always, we are actively planning next year. So we have already begun planning for the Joint Women's Leadership Symposium for 2021. It is planned for Norfolk, Virginia. We're anticipating next summer, but we will be providing information soon. And as always, we thank you for taking the time to be part of this virtual series. It is truly my pleasure to get to be part of it and moderate and be part of dedicating to helping us fulfill our vision of empowering a network of strong and inspirational female leaders who serve. So thank you very much for being here tonight, and everyone be safe and continue to spread kindness.